So I've started the recording, and I will say welcome to the Quality Matters and ReadSpeaker webinar on how Galen, Galen College of Nursing and Indiana Tech. Did I say that right, Beth?
Correct. Galen College of Nursing.
Yeah, use Quality Matters and ReadSpeaker to address accessibility and good course design. So welcome. I'll talk a little bit. I should introduce myself. I'm Jim Snyder. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Marketing here at Quality Matters, and ReadSpeaker will introduce themselves. Ginger will introduce her ReadSpeaker in a second, but I'll just say a little bit about Quality Matters. Quality Matters is a global organization leading quality assurance in online and innovative digital teaching and learning environments. We provide a scalable quality assurance system for online and blended learning used within and across organizations. We have over 1,500 member institutions in over 30 countries. We're used by higher ed, K-12, and other organizations offering continuing education and professional development. When you see the QM certification marks on courses or programs, it means that they've met QM course design standards or QM program review criteria in a rigorous review process. And I will put, these are just some free resources that are available to you. Obviously, if you're attempting to click on these links, they're not going to work, but I'll put those in the chat in a second once we get going. But we have some free QM webinars just like this one coming up over the course of the next few months. We do have an accessibility and usability resource site in Canvas that you have access to. Anyone can access that. We do have some online course design guides for both higher ed and K-12 that are available, and we have our research library. So even if you're not a QM member, you have access to all of those. And since we're going to be talking a lot about addressing accessibility, we do have a course, a professional development course called Addressing Accessibility and Usability that is available for anyone to take. There is a fee for that. And our QM Connect conference will be in snowy Minneapolis, Minnesota on November 5th through 8th. Hopefully it won't be too snowy. And so I will I'll put the registration information over there to you as well. And I'll pass it over to you, Ginger.
Thank you, Jim. We're excited to be here. I'm Ginger Dewey, and I am the Educational Development Manager at ReadSpeaker. And basically, that is a fancy name for I help you with onboarding, with any type of educational support you need. And I'm going to let each of our speakers introduce themselves. And Mary Beth, if you'll go next.
Certainly. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Beth Graham. I'm the Director of Online Learning at Indiana Tech. Our institution is located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. However, I'm coming to you from Maryland. I'm actually a remote employee. We're proud members of Quality Matters and users of ReadSpeaker. So I'm super happy to be here with you today. I'm not only have my role at Indiana Tech, I'm also a master reviewer and facilitator for Quality Matters, have been involved with Quality Matters since before the beginning. Just really love our association. So I'm really happy to be here today and to share our experience with all of you.
Hi, my name is Beth Mulhollon, and I am from Galen College of Nursing, and I'm the Manager of Disability Services there. I am new to Galen. I'm not new to the use of ReadSpeaker. I've been in post-secondary since 2011, education 29 years. I know I don't look that old, no, just kidding. But have loved every minute of it. So obviously looking at the access portion of that, Galen, we are a College of Nursing. We are 19 colleges across the nation. I am also remote like you, Mary Beth, coming to you from Wichita, Kansas. So excited to be here, excited to share my knowledge of Ginger and her expertise of support of us and students and faculty. So thanks for having us.
Thank you. And before we get into the actual questions and the roundtable, I want to give you a little bit of information about ReadSpeaker. first, we have over 245 voices in 68 different languages. And our voices, we create them from recording a human all the way to outputting the AI. So anytime there's a mispronunciation for a locale, we can always fix that. I give the example that my boss uses. He grew up in upstate New York, and there's a little area that is pronounced Charlotte. He wrote it down for me one time, and it's spelled Charlotte. So we could make it say Charlotte for them and Charlotte for everyone else. We have over 15,000 clients globally. We help everyone. It's so easy. All you do is you click the listen button like you see at the top of the slide. And we have several different accessibility tools, and we are compatible with most proctoring systems. Who benefits? Well, first off, everybody does, because no matter what learning methodology is your favorite, ReadSpeaker can work with that. And we allow learners to listen and watch the words being highlighted at the same time. So you're using a bimodal reception method, and that has been shown to increase the amount of retention. And we're available to all who access an online system. So we're out there for everyone. And it's not just for those that have a disability. Think about the curb cut effect. You know, we all use the electronic doors at airports. We all use the actual curb cut when we're riding our bike or pushing a baby carriage or anything like that. We use those things, even though they weren't designed for us, they help us. And that's what ReadSpeaker is about. Just a little bit of quick information here. I found this information to be very powerful. If you look at the graph on the right-hand side of the screen, you see days 1 to 12 and percent correct. Now, the individual test taker, that's hard for me to say, on days 1 through 4 did not have any text to speech. And you can see that about 40% was the high on getting questions right. On days 5 through 8, they had text to speech, and it ranges between 60 and that's about 70-75%, somewhere in that neighborhood, when they had that text to speech. And then they took it back away for days 9 through 12, and you can see the highest reached was about 60%. So that shows you, just by having the text to speech in assessments, it really improved the information. Now, enough about ReadSpeaker. Let's get to the part you came here to hear. All right, what pain points were you looking to solve when you chose the Quality Matters rubric and ReadSpeaker? Mary Beth?
Well, I have to say, I'm going to kind of take this in 2 parts. So Quality Matters, first of all. I have to be honest, I actually was a big part of why Indiana Tech is using Quality Matters. As I mentioned before in my little intro, so I was a faculty member dating back all the way to the late 90s. I know I don't seem that old, right? Beth and myself. And I was involved in online learning, and our institution was part of Maryland Online, which was institutions in the state of Maryland that had online learning. I was actually part of the original FIPSI grant, which was a grant that allowed us to be able to really investigate and research what promoted quality in online learning and what were things that were really important. And so that group, actually, we did a bunch of research. It was a really wonderful program, and what was the beginning of the QM rubric. So I have utilized Quality Matters and the QM rubric in pretty much most of my teaching. I've been teaching online since the late 90s. When I came to Indiana Tech, they were using the QM rubric, but probably not to the best way that it could. So we actually utilized the QM rubric to help us actually design our online courses. And really what we're looking for is quality course design and providing an effective learning opportunity for all of our students. that really allows them to meet the learning objectives, have an engaging and active learning experience. When it comes to ReadSpeaker, obviously we've not been using ReadSpeaker quite that long. We've been using ReadSpeaker for a while now, though. Ultimately, what we were trying to initially do is really trying to address accessibility, obviously. Besides those things that we build into our learning management system and making sure that we have accessible text, accessible images, and all that, we really wanted to find a way to really make the learning experience easier for our learners. And that includes not only, and I think Ginger touched on this just a little bit, students with all kinds of different levels of ability, whether they have issues with vision or hearing, students with learning disabilities like dyslexia, ADD, and others. We also have learners who have, for whom English is a second language. We have many students in that case, or for many students for whom college is they're the first one in their family to be a college student. We also have, and I found this is actually a really pleasant thing that we could address, is really dealing with courses with difficult terminology or courses where the student might actually need a little bit of translation. We actually began an online MBA program. Well, we added a Spanish online MBA program a couple of years ago, and we really had a need to be able to provide resources for those students as well. The nice thing about ReadSpeaker is we were able to actually provide speech, text to speech with a language speaker that actually was speaking Spanish instead of an English kind of voice that was trying to speak Spanish. So that was a really, really wonderful thing that we were able to find with ReadSpeaker that we were able to address. We wanted this to work with at then Blackboard. We've now moved to Canvas, or we're moving to Canvas. And so it really needed to be seamless and work within our learning management system and provide what we needed for students.
Helps when I unmute myself, right? Thank you. All right. Next question. How long have you been using the Quality Matters rubric, and what differences do you see in your course design now? Mary Beth, you covered some of that before, but do you want to dive a little deeper into that?
Sure, I'd love to. So I'm kind of really looking at Indiana Tech. I moved from being a faculty member and an administrator, was an associate dean at my previous institution, to being director of online learning at Indiana Tech. So when I joined Indiana Tech, I was very fortunate that they had joined Quality Matters a few years prior, and we're kind of doing some things in online, but we really wanted to really utilize the QM rubric in our course design process. And so what we were able to do is actually really build it in. So we were able to, as example, utilize specific and measurable learning objectives and make sure that our learning objectives actually written in a way that students can actually see by the end of the course or by the end of a particular module, that they're able to actually know what they'll be able to do. And we link a lot that to obviously what they'll do in the career. Allows us to know that those our courses, we're actually going to be using those measurable learning objectives and that they align with what we're assessing, and that if we're assessing, we're making sure that we're assessing what students are, we want our students to be able to do, and that our learning activities, our instructional materials, our tools and technology, and all of that really align and help support our students to achieve those learning objectives. And that's part and parcel to what the Quality Matters rubric provides. Overall, we want to provide our learners to have an engaging and active learning experience that ultimately supports student success and retention, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is have highest success rates, lower failure rates, and having students retain and persist to graduation. So aside actually, and this kind of goes beyond the QM rubric, but aside from course design, Quality Matters is also very involved in quality course instruction and online teaching. And so we actually utilize the teaching online certificate and the contents of that actually to help support our faculty members as well. Overall, all of this has really helped us to have lower failure rates, and we've actually have measurable lower failure rates in our online courses, higher retention of students. And believe it or not, even because of all of this, we've actually adopted the QM rubric in our face-to-face programs to really help us with curriculum design. And that's really helped our faculty to really embrace and make sure that we're really, when students come into a course, they know what they'll be able to do by the end. We help them get there, and we're able to measure that well.
That is wonderful to hear, because coming from a long education background, I taught for close to 39 years before coming to ReadSpeaker. And yes, I do look my age. I can tell you that one of the things I used to tell my students at the beginning of the class is, we're going to talk about such and such today. At the end of the class, I recapped what the main points were, which is sort of what you were talking about at the beginning of the module and at the end of the module. And the days that I forgot to do it, I noticed the next class, when I had them, they didn't respond as well. So that one point can make a big difference. Why is good course design important, and how did you get your faculty buy-in? Mary Beth?
Well, certainly, I think the course design is the foundation of your course. No matter what content, what discipline it's in, no matter who's teaching that course, the course design really is the foundation. And the Quality Matters rubric allows us to have a really good foundation to make sure that, you know, what our students to be able to achieve in that course, they actually can do. You can have a course, you can have great resources, you can have flashy games, you can have technology, you can have all kinds of cute stuff. But if they're not actually helping learners to achieve their learning objectives, it's really just an interesting distraction. Maybe some students will enjoy doing it, but it's really not going to help them to achieve their goals. In our online program, we have students who are working adults, who are taking accelerated courses in many cases, who are juggling a lot in their lives. And so we need to really make sure that we're providing them a really clear path to success, an engaging experience, and a supportive experience. And I think that's the course designer is really, really important for that. The QM rubric helps us to ensure that we're providing those course elements that actually help students to learn. And we're ensuring that all students have the ability to be part of the learning experience. So for us, faculty buy-in was pretty easy because our president came from my institution, and he had liked Quality Matters back then. So that was it was very nice coming into an institution where it was assumed it was part of the culture. That's not always been my experience. In a lot of cases, I've had to kind of share the good news of Quality Matters. And of course, our institutions always came around. So it's really been nice. But I think added to that, besides obviously the top-down support, we built it into our online course design process. And we had a number of full-time faculty members that were part of that process. And just like me, I had been, teaching in all different modalities for a lot of years. And you know how to design it. You think, okay, I know how to design a course, but when you do it with Quality Matters kind of embedded into it, really helps to provide a really great product, for lack of a better word. And we had faculty who actually finished the course design process and would say, oh my gosh, like this course is so much better than I thought it was going to be even. So they're very excited. And so for that helped us to get more faculty buy-in. And then even so, because they were so excited about that, we started a program called QM Guides. So we have trained faculty members within different areas of our traditional, we'd call our face-to-face program. And they actually utilize the important facets of the Quality Matters rubric to actually help guide other faculty through the curriculum development process, even if it's just, looking at new courses and what those course objectives are going to be. So I think it's been something where it was a top-down, but also I think you can't persist with that. It has to be something that everyone really embraces. And I think with all the different facets of Quality Matters, it's really helped us to really embrace that. And so for us, it's just a cultural thing that everyone just knows. When you talk about Quality Matters, they're like, oh yeah, that's right. So which is really nice.
I want to give a little bit about course design. Part of my background was an instructional designer at one point. I wore lots of different hats over my educational career. And I found that we had a lot of departmental courses where the department designed the course and then the faculty member could add to it, just not take away, to make certain the main things were being covered. And a lot of that was because the institution where I was a technical college, and we survive off adjuncts. If we didn't have adjuncts, we could never meet the demand, and we wanted to be certain. But one of the things that we encountered was that what people were adding were not necessarily accessible. So we had to make certain that we went back and made absolutely certain that things were accessible for those. And one of the things was ReadSpeaker. Another big thing that helped us was an OCR device. We used an Acrobat at the time frame to OCR all those scanned images, because that was where we ran into the biggest problem. And I want to toss this out. We will be rolling out at the end of the year a OCR process in our doc reader. So the student, when they encounter that inaccessible scanned image, can say, OCR it, and I want to read it, and click that little button, and they'll be able to read it. And I think that's just really awesome, because for me, that was the thing I spent most of my time tracking down and fixing. All right, Beth, why ReadSpeaker? What drew you to ReadSpeaker?
All right, had to hit the unmute. You know, ReadSpeaker, it's just, for me, obviously being in the world of disability service, it's all about access. I mean, it's a universal design. It's built into the learning management system. And it is the light bulb for students and faculty. I have found a key part is doing different things to make sure that people know it's there. And that's something that Ginger, you and I over the years have worked really closely on, is different workshops. Initially, it was student driven workshops for students as to, hey, do you see down in the left corner, do you see the little piece of paper with the speaker? This is what it does. And it is, I don't think life-changing, but it's like, it is the light bulb for students going, wow, that is a game changer for me in the world of education. And from that, I then went, our faculty, our staff, they need to realize what this is. So I've done workshops. I actually am doing a workshop with our faculty through our Teaching and Learning Academy this fall on what is ReadSpeaker. It's been to the point where they'll then reach out and go, teach me more, teach me more. I want to, the first day of class, to go, hey, do you realize this is built into, into our learning management system? You can listen, you can, there's other ways of you learning this, especially for those students who maybe don't have what they need to actually be one of our students. Some students realize that they don't necessarily have a disability, but they just like to listen to the material. It is another way, whether they're driving, whether they're cooking, whether it's 1 a.m. and they just don't want to look at the words anymore, that they can listen to the information and get it another way. It's about access. It's also the other areas within your college. We have content enrichment specialists, making sure that they're aware of when they're working with a student and the student's like, oh, I wish I could just, I don't always want to read. There's so much reading. They can say, hey, let me show you a great feature for you to get the knowledge a different way. So there's so many different parts of of a college that making sure, I feel that's my job, is to not only obviously work with my students that are in our program, but it's a factor that will help so many students get what they need, so we can assess and know what they know type of.
I guess on my side, my first exposure to ReadSpeaker was actually, I think, facilitating a course for QM. And so it was actually in there. And I remember how easy it was. And I thought, gosh, it was, kind of just like Beth said, you can just, click on something or click and drag, and then, oh, look, you can do a translation, you can do a definition, which, by the way, you can turn those off if you have a course that you want people to actually know the definitions. So that was my first exposure. And I saw a demo at some point at a QM conference, but then I actually had a meeting with Ginger. And I have to say that she has such extensive knowledge about not only accessibility, but, you can have a well-designed course, and you can have a course that has, it can be read by, a speaker and a text reader. It can, you have all text with your images, and you have captions and all that kind of thing. But it kind of really goes beyond that with ReadSpeaker. what I saw in ReadSpeaker is that, of course, you can support what we call like the typical disabilities, right? Or a student who could not see the text on the screen and can have it read out loud. But there's also like so many other areas where I feel like ReadSpeaker kind of really raised the bar. Like, for example, if you have a student with a learning disability and they need to focus on a certain area of text. So not only does it read out loud to you, but it actually, colorizes and highlights the words as it reads. It also, you can make it in large print. Yes, that helps a student with a visual impairment, but also helps all learners if they just need a little bit. I know with me, as I get older, the text seems blurry and blurrier, but it, shows that. You can also actually use a page mask where you can actually have if you have a screen of text, whether it be an ebook or whether it be a self-talk lesson or whether it be on Blackboard or Canvas, it'll actually kind of mask the page so you can keep track of. It's kind of like we teach students if they're doing it in a book to use a card or a ruler. If they're a second language learner, they can easily just go to a word, they can select and right click it and figure out what that word is. If you have a course, and this is what Ginger was teaching me in the beginning, I'm like, well, that makes sense. If you have a course with challenging terminology and the student, there's all this, anatomy and physiology and legal terms and medical terms, to be able to actually get a quick dictionary meaning of a word. And also, we talked about this one at one point, Ginger and I met. Let's say you have a student that is going to be doing transcribing for a living, court stenographer, or if they're going to be taking notes when they're working with a patient as a healthcare provider, but they can actually utilize ReadSpeaker because you can speed it up and you can slow it down, and they can actually practice, actually doing that dictation or actually understanding what others are saying, whether they're speaking in another language or they're just speaking. So that, I think that was the kind of the neat thing about ReadSpeaker, that it goes beyond the basic accessibility that it can provide. Obviously, some of those things that are out there now, but fonts that work better if you're dyslexic, or if you have a headache and the text is, the screen is too bright or whatever, you can actually adjust the size of the text. As I mentioned before, having a page mask or a ruler, a dictionary translator at the ready. So it really did all of this for us. And what was an important part for us as well is it did it without breaking the budget. It was an easy add-on to what we had. And I think having Ginger and I have presented, we actually did a presentation for our faculty, which I think went really well. But I think also just her knowledge and what she told me about things that I needed to learn, even knowing accessibility, I thought that was, so she's a real benefit. So Ginger, if you can have your boss, watch this one, but I've always said she's like so knowledgeable about all of this and really helped me to understand really how lots of students are going to really benefit from this. Like you talked, the cut and the curb kind of practice. I thought that was really important.
I wanted to throw in a little bit here. The institution I was at prior to coming to ReadSpeaker, we adopted ReadSpeaker, and I watched students start retaining information more. And one of the biggest ways you can get ReadSpeaker off the ground is to have faculty play something in class. And as the students are coming in, whether it's virtually or it's face-to-face, and the students are going to kind of look at it and say, how did you do that? And you just show them real quick. I click the listen button. You don't like my colors. You don't like the voice I'm using. Fix it. You can't break it. And every time I threw down that gauntlet of you can't break it, they all went home and tried. And they found things that could help them. There's one particular thing that I personally like to use and wish was around when I was in college. We won't say how many decades ago, but the enlarged text and slowing down the reading speed by 5%. One of the courses that I struggled with, and for everyone out there that teaches this, I apologize up front, educational psychology. It had so much granular material in it, I couldn't keep it straight. And one of the things we found is that if you slow the reading speed down by 5% and you use the enlarged text, you're seeing all that granular material. And the enlarged text only delivers up to a comma or an ending punctuation. So you've got digestion time on it. I think I would have done better in that course if I had had something like this. We're getting a lot of questions in the chat, and I want to break in here and say I will show you Canvas, because most of them seem to be about Canvas. When we get to the very end of the webinar, I will pull that up and show you those. And we do work in all of Canvas, okay? All right, our next question and our last question here is for any of those institutions out there that are still in the process of trying to find how to do good course design techniques, text to speech, anything along these lines, what would you say you need to investigate, or how would you go about advising them?
You want, let me kick that one off and
Yes.
okay, great. Well, first of all, for course design, I think the easiest thing to do is to go to the Quality Matters website. That's the thing about Quality Matters, that they have a ton of resources. You don't have to be a paying member to see these. You can see workshops from previous conferences. You can see there's lots of resources. So check out, I think it's qualitymatters.org. So check out this website, first of all. Check out their workshops. They have workshops focused on course design and on teaching online. So I thought I would give some of my personal favorites. So the first one is, and sorry, Jim, but the Designing Your Online Course workshop is my personal entry point good workshop, because you kind of hit the high points of what is the QM rubric, what are the essential standards. It really helps you to really understand. If you want to go more in depth, the Applying the Quality Matters rubric is your next good step. That one actually goes along with this great workbook. You can buy this book, and I just happen to have mine here, but this is not working out with the whole Zoom background thing. There we go. But this is actually the rubric workbook. You can have this. You don't have to take any workshops. This will teach you about online the course review process. It also goes through, provides all of the all the specific general and specific review standards and really helpful annotations that Applying the Quality Matters rubric workshop goes through it in great detail. I think that's helpful. So for text to speech, this was my main recommendation. Set up a meeting with Ginger, because I found that she was so helpful, even just learning it. Like, I knew this in my heart, but like bimodal learning, being able to see it and hear it at the same time. She gave us a great demo, and that really helped me to understand the value. And we went in very quickly after I think we set it up. She's really great about that. And I could see already that students were using it, and we hadn't even advertised it. They found it, they started using it. It was really, making a difference. So go ahead, Beth.
So yes, and something I wanted to bring up about usage, you can check. I know people want data. They want as to, is this working? Should we keep it type of thing? So I know, and again, working with Ginger, the support, when a problem arises, she's the expert, and she will quickly meet and we'll figure it out, and we'll resolve that. Something else I wanted to also kind of touch base about was we all are having the students who have taken a break in life, are returning back, are not feeling like they're very computer savvy type of thing, but we all know that post-secondary it's all about the user. We're on a computer, whatever jobs we're going into. Obviously, in the world of healthcare, technology is huge. So that is this last week I met with 2 students who they're later in life and had different ways of support in their K-12 system, and it was like, here, check this out. And it was like, wow, somebody who had dyslexia, who was telling me they would read something 7 or 8 times over before they could gain the knowledge. And we talked about, hey, how's that going to look like in the world of nursing? Is there time to try to figure out with the context clues? And it's like, these are skills that we're teaching students that are life skills type of thing. Like what this text to speech you'll get the information the first time, you can learn about it, and then move on. And what you were talking about, like I said, I know I'm kind of going back, but Mary Beth, you were bringing up such great ideas, even for when it's highlighting. So right now, if I would go into our learning management system and pull up ReadSpeaker, it would be, I think, a green, black. My sentences would be in green, but the words I was reading would be in blue. I will have students who will actually turn the volume down, and they use that as like a focus, students with attention, and it keeps them focused, so they aren't just reading words, they're reading the content. So it really, I think the advice is taking the time to work with Ginger and putting together a workshop for your students, a workshop for your faculty, staff, and offering those. In today's world with Zoom, it's not like we have to reserve a computer room or do anything like that. It's like, here's a Zoom link. Having additional support, I would recommend having somebody from your team being your moderator of answering kind of how Ginger's doing this today of, hey, these are the questions. And then, giving them the resources. I've really found that by making people more aware, people will then reach out more and go, hey, how does this work? Can you explain this more? It's just a program, utilizing for students just to gain that information. And a lot of faculty are like you said, Ginger, where you would have it working. It's like, I'm finding more and more that first day when they're talking about the resources that you have, it's like, did you know? And a lot of colleges, we have a GPS course that all new students come in, and it's part of that right now where they're learning the different pieces. So having the resources and getting more and more people that are aware of it, I think would be my biggest piece of advice.
Thank you both for the kind words there. I want to toss in something else that we did. And we looked at a lot of things that you were saying, but we also looked at, how do you finance it? And that's a big question. Well, one of the things that we found was that Perkins grants, and those are for technical institutions or those that teach technical courses that are public, paid for our ReadSpeaker for 2 years. And you can get started like that and then work it into your budget. So finding grants or things along those lines can help you afford the text to speech and paying for the Quality Matters certifications. Because Jim, comment on that area. I know there is some cost to become a member of Quality Matters or something like that. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, there's any institution can become a member of Quality Matters. If you're a higher ed institution, there's a basic membership, and that's roughly $1,925 per year. There's also memberships options for K-12 institutions or K-12 districts, and that's a little bit lower. I'll put the links to those prices in there, and that gets you, being a member gets you access to the annotations, which are the information behind the 8 general standards and the 44 specific review standards of the 7th edition of the higher ed rubric, or of the 4th edition of the K-12 rubric. So behind the standards are annotations which provide examples and best practices for how do you meet those particular standards. So standard 8 is really one around accessibility, and within that there are lots of additional information there. It also provides you discounts on any of those workshops that both Beth and Mary Beth were talking about as well. So that's a little bit about Quality Matters membership.
And I want to go a step further. There's been chatter over in the chat about Perkins and other grants. Care funds are still available. There's one last round of care funds that run out don't quote me on this, I think it's March 2024. So there are still some funds out there that you can get that can pay for some of these things we've been talking about today. And you need to explore, have you used up all this? And the question was, they didn't know that Perkins was still around. Yes, and we have an institution currently that is purchasing ReadSpeaker using Perkins funds. So yes, they are still around because I know that was last week. So they were still there then. And we also have a product that can read the nursing exam, the ATI exam, and Accuplacer. So there's all these other areas beside the LMS. For the question about Moodle, yes, we do work with Moodle. Anything else anyone wants to add there? Okay. And to answer a lot of the questions, we provide a free demo account, no strings attached. We let you kick the tires with your material because, you know, I can set up the perfect course where everything's going to be wonderful, but we have reality. Faculty sometimes don't have the best course around. And you need to test with those. In fact, when we tested, we took the course that we knew had the kitchen sink in it. So we tested everything when we were testing, and we provide it with your LMS. All we need is your name, your institution name, who your LMS admin is, your URL for your LMS, and that would be for your test server, and what languages you want. There was also some information earlier, questions earlier about having it read, not necessarily with the correct accent. First off, we offer a wealth of languages. If a document is written, say, in French, you want to use a French voice. And if it's written in Spanish, a Spanish voice, and in English, an English voice. But we also have students that are Hispanic that when they hear it, they need to hear a Hispanic voice on it so they can better relate to it. So they might use one of our Spanish voices to listen to English material because they can pick it up better, because that is the way they are processing learning that second language. Mary Beth, I see you've got a friend there. Who's your friend?
This is Artemis. Sorry, she popped in here real quick. She'll be 1 in 3 days. So she had a son come say hello. Sorry.
That's wonderful. I closed the door so my furry pal would not come in because she has a very high-pitched yip. And I thought she would make everyone pull the headphones away from the ear if she walked in. If you want something, please reach out to me or to Paul Stisser. Our information is on there. Follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our major LMSs at readspeaker.com/education. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and Jim, if you will fill the time, maybe with a Jeopardy tune or something, while I pull up Canvas.
All right. I don't know if I have any Jeopardy tunes, but I will say from ReadSpeaker, while Ginger's working on this, I facilitate the Intro to Quality Matters, which is another workshop that QM offers. So I'm in the Canvas. We use Canvas as our LMS, and all of our courses that are asynchronous have ReadSpeaker embedded in it. So that's sort of how we have found each other over the years, so that, you know, Quality Matters uses the ReadSpeaker speaker tool as part of that as well.
I like the fact too, Jim, you can choose the language. So everybody gets to choose whatever language they want. And, you know, so there's some, it's like when you're listening to Siri or your GPS or something, you're like, no, today I want the English accent. It's kind of nice.
I agree. I like to use the English accent. In fact, I'm listening to a book right now, and I chose the book simply because it had a British speaker. And I'm finding the book to be awesome, but I just thought that was kind of cool. And I've almost got everything pulled up. Just give me one more moment and then I will share again.
Yeah, everybody
Okay.
hang in there because I think the demo really is what you really need to see for ReadSpeaker.
And if anyone is coming to the QM Connect conference that's happening in Minnesota, ReadSpeaker will be there. They also have a presentation, so they'll be there. They'll also have a table so you can go and meet with Ginger face to face and ask her questions.
All right, I am one click away. I'm getting there very quickly. All right, let me find my share screen again. Desktop 2 with sound. Okay, are you seeing my Canvas screen?
Says learner support. Yep.
Exactly. Now over here on the left is the ReadSpeaker button. And when you click it, it flies up to the top. Well, it went over to the left. It normally lands at the top. This is where I had it the last time I was on the screen. And if I click listen, it's going to play the whole page. But, you know, we were talking about the settings. I want to show you this very quickly. I don't like the green sentence and the blue word. I need more contrast. So I use a bright yellow sentence. I can set my reading speed, which I want to be 105. And I can also set my color backgrounds. I want a font size of +2. I know everyone hates Comic Sans, but I'm going to use it just because. And I can choose the background color that I want with the text color. My favorite is black on light pink. So I've set up how I want it. Other things that I can do is I can go in here and change the keystrokes so that if I want to use my keyboard instead of my mouse, and I am an old DOS user, so I like to set up my keystrokes just because it's what is in my muscle memory, I can do that. Now, I'm not going to read the whole page. I'm just going to read part of this. And I'm going to say, listen.
Each person has different learning preferences. You may prefer to listen to information or to read information.
All right, we just read part of that. Now, I heard the enlarged text was mentioned. So I'm going to take a sentence toward the bottom that has loads of commas in it. This little paragraph, and we're going to listen. It will be at the bottom of the page.
Did you know that by employing 2 or more senses, you will retain material longer? You will.
Now, I can make this larger. It goes up to the +7 of enlarged font, which on my screen, this is 27-inch monitor that you're seeing, is about 1 3/4 inch to 2 inches in height. And this is what I was talking about with the Ed Sight course. I would use this along with slowing that reading speed down. Now you see the wealth of tools that we have here. You can change your reading voice and you will get many reading voices to choose from. This is an international course, so it has a lot more in it than typical, but just because I like the UK, I'm going to listen to this sentence with our British voice.
Students who participate in study groups benefit by the repetition of the material.
So that was one of our voices. One of our Australian voices sounds like Crocodile Dundee, and I realized the other day that I dated myself by saying Crocodile Dundee, that young people don't necessarily know who Crocodile Dundee is. But you see, you have all these others like a page mask, and we work throughout everything, including quizzes. And with Respondus, in classic quizzes, this player is automatically part of the page, so it works with Respondus very well. If you are using new quizzes, then you need to use our our bookmarklet in it, and that can be launched by using a Control-R. So we do have ways to read everything. The other question was about D2L, and of course it's going to be slow. This is basically the same page that I have in lots of different courses. And I'm going to this time use what's called click and listen. And I'm going to live dangerously because half the time Molly is our voice that comes up, which is the child's voice. But we're going to click and hope we don't have Molly.
There are other learning resources around you. If you have a research paper, the databases can be overwhelming.
Now, notice when I clicked on the paragraph, it immediately popped up and started playing. So that is our click and listen, and that is the high points in it. In our document reader, we do have a highlighting function where students can take notes. If you want to see more of this, please email me and I'll be glad to do a demo in your environment. And I saw a lot of chat, and I need to just, I can't demo Respondus Lockdown Browser and monitor while we're in a meeting because it'll kick me out of the meeting, but I'll be glad to send you a list, a playlist that has it recorded, because I worked with Respondus to where they whitelisted my recorder so that I could make the recordings. If you will email me right after the session, I will be glad to do that. Will it read the tabs and the accordions built into Canvas? If they are expanded, yes, because it reads what is on the page as it is displayed on the page. If you don't have it displayed, it's not going to read it well. How does it read numbers? It reads numbers well. If you put 1, 2, 3, it's going to say 123. And if you are using math, if you write it with MathML, which the editors in your LMS, basically all the LMSs use that, then when you click on that graphic equation or math equation, the little square root, so you get your little composition, if you use that, we read it. Canvas is a little bit unique, as in Canvas renders anything that you enter in the edit box, the WYSIWYG edit box. It renders it back as an image, so it can't read it. So what you have to do is right click on it and tell it, no, use HTML, and then it goes back and it reads it. Does it read attachments such as PDFs, Words, PowerPoint documents? Yes. Will it read LaTeX in Canvas? If you mean a full LaTeX document, no. If you mean using LaTeX to write out your math formulas in the WYSIWYG editor, yes. I think I got everything. If I missed something, pop it back in chat. How is ReadSpeaker preparing for AI speech technology, which is on the horizon? First off, we use AI. We are part of AI because we start with a human voice and we render it. If you're talking about things like Chat GPT and things like that, that's something the students will be using and bringing back in and then having it read. And I know there's a lot of questions about a lot of these AI pieces. And with that, please know that there are good ways to use them. I'm a dinosaur. I remember when calculators were first brought in the classroom and everyone thought the students will never be able to do math. And I taught math. So I can say very quickly that it will work. You just have to learn how to teach with the AI. And there's been some excellent articles on the web here recently about research articles on doing that. Let's see. We used to be part of Blackboard Ally, and then they changed to a different set of voices. And one of the things that you ask about a comparison, I'm prejudiced. I think we have the best voices on the market. So that it's not a fair question to ask me there. I can say that it is very humanistic voices, and we are becoming more on that end. The way your brain thinks is through neural networks. It goes in, it grabs what a T sounds like and an H sounds like, and it puts it together for the TH sound. When we are designing our voices, we take these recordings from the humans, and then we replicate the way the brain pronounces things. So we're using what's called a deep neural network to actually produce out our voices, which make them more humanistic. And anyone who has this and wants training, please contact me. That's my job. It is free. Jim, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
I don't think I have anything else to add except to say thank you guys very much. There were a couple other questions, but I think you answered most of those as they went through. So I appreciate that. I will say thank you to Beth and Mary Beth, and thank ReadSpeaker. See you guys at the QM Connect conference coming up. I know you guys are doing a bunch of other conferences as well. And yeah, you have a few extra minutes. People did ask about the recording. We will make the recording available, both coming from ReadSpeaker and Quality Matters, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us. And thank you, Beth and Mary Beth. It was awesome.
Our pleasure.
All right, thanks.